Hey guys, it's Peyton, and today I'm going to be telling you all about some of my all-time favorite books. It's kind of a big deal. I got a new pink microphone today, so I had to put it to use, and now that the sun doesn't go down like as soon as I'm off work, I can actually film a little bit and it not be like completely horrible lighting. So super excited to share this because if you've been on my channel for a while, despite the fact that I have over 400 videos, I have never sat down and made a solid list of my all-time favorite books, like my top 10 favorite books. This is like an impossible task for a reader, especially someone who's read like hundreds of books. Like, how am I supposed to identify 10 of my favorite books? So I have just avoided making this video for like my entirety of my life because I just will never feel fully happy with what I come up with. But I decided, my boyfriend recently asked me to come up with a list of like the top 10, like what are the most impactful books for you personally. And while it is extremely difficult for me to do this, I tried to pick out books that have left a lasting impact, or books that I've reread multiple times, things that I really think are going to continue to be my favorites for the rest of eternity. And it's really hard because, recency effect. So there's some books that I've read within the last year or two that I really want to include, but I'm like, I don't know, I haven't reread it. Like, maybe I'm going to have a different feeling about it in the future. Most of these on this list I've read at least twice, if not 3-4 times. So there's a couple that I have not read more than once, but I feel that strongly about them that they have made this list. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first one is probably one of the main reasons that you have even found my channel, especially recently if there's new subscribers, The Hunger Games. If I'm going to be referencing a series, I'm just going to include the entire series. So if we're talking about my favorite book in the Hunger Games series, it's probably Catching Fire. I really do love Sunrise on the Reaping, I'm not gonna lie, which, by the way, I just got my Waterstones exclusive edition in the mail. Super excited about this. Has awesome snake and bird imagery. I just love it. I had to have it because I had the ballad one. I have to get the matching set. Like, I collect pretty much all the Hunger Games editions, so it's really hard for me not to do that. The Hunger Games series as a whole, has to be my favorite thing ever. Probably top tier favorite thing ever for me. I mean, I have a whole playlist of videos that goes very deeply into my love for this series, and it's hard to just express it all in one go, but I just love these characters. That's what is so notable about Suzanne Collins. Not only does she have great characters with crazy ass relationships, but she has such important issues that she discusses about contemporary modern times, but also critiquing things that have happened in the past and things that may be happening in the future. And of course, the present day is horrible. So all of the social commentary on the effects of war on children, that's what she was doing with this series. And she just dives so deep into how much these things can brutally affect everybody. Seeing a horrible government, I mean, it doesn't seem too far-fetched. We got many places with horrible governments. So it is amazing to have something that hits so many great points with fantastic characters and does it for an audience that, yes, can hit for young readers, but it also can be just as great for adults. So a lot of people were surprised as they grew up with these books and they went back to reread them. They hold up, if not even more than you could even imagine. I mean, these books stand the test of time, and I really think they're going to be a classic. This is a modern classic in my opinion, and it's going to be continued to talk about forevermore. Moving on from really dark, sad books with a lot of pain and terror, we're gonna hit you with a romance book. This is probably my favorite romance book ever. It might be overhyped in some people's eyes, but I really, really love this book. read it several times, annotated it, and for whatever reason, these characters just latch onto my heart. I relate to Alex Claremont Diaz personally on so many levels in the journeys that he's going through in this book. This book was birthed from the original Trump election, so it was like an alternate universe, like if the woman won. So the main character, Alex, he has his mother win the presidency, and she is up for re-election soon, and so he's the first son of America, and he has a very big rivalry with one of the princes of England, Prince Henry, and their connection, I mean, devastatingly beautiful. Like, they hate each other, but it's stupid. They clearly got some tension, and that's what really is the problem. And I just love how Casey McQuiston, like, crafts her characters and, like, the dialogue and the banter between them. Katniss, kitty, do you have to hit your bell? She's itchy. Hold on. Yes, I named my cat after Katniss from The Hunger Games, who hates cats, but it's okay. I just really, really love these characters. And that's what makes a romance for me. Like, it's not just smut. It's not just the crazy romantic, like, physical interactions. Like, it is the people, and I just really, like, these characters really speak to me, and I would encourage you to give it a chance. If you get scared of, like, hyped up books, like, this is one that really hits for me personally. Like, I bought it when it came out, and I've met Casey McQuiston. Almost all of these authors, I've met quite a lot of them. So let's make it a goal. Like, let me meet Suzanne Collins. Like, can somebody set this up for me? So she's like, who knows where she is, Most of these authors I have had the privilege to meet. So, I mean, I'm tracking them down and trying to figure it out, But, I have gotten this book signed, and it just means a lot to me. I'm just obsessed. Like, everything they write, I'm gonna read it. I still need to read the new one, so I'm a little embarrassed. But, I'm gonna get there. I've been kind of in a fantasy mood, so I'm not really in the mood for this specifically right now, but I'm gonna get back around and read the new one. My latest obsession, I mean, it's current because the new book just came out. I'm so obsessed with the Legendborn books by Tracy Dion. My boyfriend sure knows I'm obsessed because she lives really close to me. I mean, I don't know exactly which home she lives in, but I know she lives in a city near me. So she has a lot of events, and she also has gone to YALLFest, and I like to go to YALLFest. So I have met her several times, 3 or 4 times. Obsessed with her. I think she's genius. She's one of those authors that, when I hear her talk about her writing, how she has 9 consultants, and just how deep, she's gone into the archives of Chapel Hill to get some of this information. She really researched for this book. Full on Welsh consultants, trying to get the language in the book. I love how intricate she is with this book, and it really shows. These books are perfect YA fantasy. Fantastic characters, you're obsessed with all of them. It's a huge cast, there's a bunch of friends, amazing love triangle where you want all 3 of them together and low key. I think that's what we're doing here, but I'm still reading book 3, so I had to read Sunrise on the Reaping and catch up on some things before my book signings in March. So I'm still reading Oathbound. Do not give me spoilers. This is pretty much a really cool book for me personally to read because it is set at a UNC school. I live in North Carolina, so it's UNC Chapel Hill. The characters are in an early college, which doesn't actually exist at UNC, but she created it for this book, so who cares? The freaking characters are all a part of a magical world that has to do with King Arthur mythology. The main character, Brie, doesn't know about this, but once she gets to school, oh my goodness, does the magical stuff start happening. So, and then there's these 2 characters, Nick and Selwyn Kane. I love both of them. And the dynamics between all of them, it is so good. And the friendships with Alice and William, I just love everybody in this series. And I just reread the first 2, so I'm, really in it right now. I have a vlog of me reading those. Was I reading the second one or the first one? I don't know. I have a vlog recently of me reading one of the books. What really gets me is a series like a fantasy series where you can really journey with these characters, I swear, like Bree goes through everything, like every terrible thing that could happen happens to this poor girl, but she really takes it and like she just gets more powerful and more powerful. And I just love to see her journey. I can't wait to see where it goes. So I really recommend, like, if you have a need and an urge for like a new YA fantasy series that's going to like completely immerse you in the world and you just want it to be real in some way. Like, I love a fantasy world that like takes place in our world. Like, that's my favorite type of thing to read about. So it just really makes you hope that there's magic out there, but there's not. Maybe there is, I just haven't found it yet. Let me hit you with a YA classic, early 2000s, okay? I mean, I read these several times. It's hard to forget about them. I mean, they just have to make the list for me. The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I feel like this is such a classic for so many people, that grew up in my time, my age group. Like, this was such a series. Like, I mean, fairy tale retellings, and each book follows like a new character, and like we keep adding to the cast. And the villain was so good, Queen Lavanna. Like, we really hate that bitch, but you really get to understand like what happened to her, and I just love what she did with this series. It follows Cinder, who is like a cyborg, and she lives in this like futuristic, like alternate reality. It's like sci-fi twist on fairy tales. But we start off with Cinderella, and this has been so long since I freaking read this. Like, this is so like nostalgic. Her and the prince obviously have a connection, and there's a queen that is of the moon. She's queen of the moon. But that girl wants to be queen of everything. I'm telling you, like she has some dark and twisted fantasies, and she wants Cinder to go down. So we start with Cinder, but then we go to Little Red Riding Hood and Scarlet, and then Rapunzel's one of my favorite stories ever. So Cress is actually my favorite book from the series, and then we have Snow White in the fourth book, which is Winter. Such a great series. I mean, if you want to great found family cast of characters. Like, I know a lot of people have probably already read this, but if you just got into reading in the more recent years, you may have like missed this era of YA books. So I definitely recommend, like, if you haven't, check it out. It's pretty good. The next book, it is another romance. So I did have 2 romance on here. 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This is one of the ones I've only read once, but it really left such a mark on me, which is frustrating because my best friend Brittany from Brittany and Books did not like this book that much. She didn't get it like I did. So Brittany, what is wrong with you? This book, I will say, have a personal connection because the main character, I have never come across a character that has understood migraines the way that I experience them. Like, there's so few books, and like if you know some that have characters that have migraines, please comment them down below, because this is like a daily struggle. Like, headaches and migraines attack me every single day, and it's been like that majority of my life, and it's a really miserable way to live, not gonna lie. So, and no one really gets it unless they have been it, so it was very vivid here. I really feel like the author probably has experience, but you never know. Maybe she really researched it. One, the premise of this book is so good. Like, take away my personal chronic pain journey, which was just so perfectly done. What a good premise this is. These 2 authors, they knew each other for 7 days in June a million years ago when they were younger. Like, I think they were teenagers. They have this like whirlwind, crazy romance like experience. And then I can't remember what happens. I need to give this a good read, like a reread, like soon. Like, I bought this on ebook because it was cheap and I heard good things and I loved it, devoured it. So I finally got myself my own physical copy because I love it that much. But these 2 characters had that crazy whirlwind romance when they were kids, and then they both end up being authors. He's a bit like of a huge, like really popular author, a lot of success. I think he has very few books out though, and like, I don't know, I'm not going to speak too much because like details, delete as soon as, like, what are their names, you know? Ava and Shane. Okay. Ava is a, like, romance fantasy, like, romantasy. She writes romantasy books that are, like, really smutty. So, like, you know, that is a whole genre, like, that's super different than what he's writing. But both of them have kind of put each other into each other's books. So they had such an experience with each other, and then now in the modern age where they don't talk and like big things happen between them, and they don't talk to each other. They try to avoid each other at any of the author outings, knowing that they both like kind of know that they were each other's like influence for some of the books. I mean, what a crazy premise. And then they get thrown back together, they see each other again, and what a whirlwind we are beginning when that happens too. Once again, absolutely fantastic characters. Really relate and love the migraine representation. Like the chronic pain element is so good. I really recommend everybody pick this up. Like, it was so good. Another YA classic, the Shatter Me series by Tahira Mafi. I mean, I don't even know how many times I've read these, and I know some people are like major haters of these books. If you hate book 1, at least give book 2 a try. Like, I swear it gets better. I think my favorite one is Ignite Me, the third one. But I just devour Tahira Mafi and her writing style. I still need to read like her new modern YA fantasy series because I really enjoy just her and her writing and her characters. So I'm sure I would really eat those books up. I think it's This Woven Kingdom. Like, I need to read those. This, I mean, the romance is so juicy. Like, that's what these books are really known for. But this is like a dystopian setting, like climate change, everything ruined the world. So there's a lack of resources, and there's a new government that has arisen, kind of given Hunger Games, you know, but not Hunger Games. And the main character, Juliet, she has something crazy about her. She has a poisonous touch. Like, if you touch her, you die. And obviously that's not good. So we start her journey where she's locked up because, you know, she's accidentally killed a bunch of people. And that's not good. So she's locked up in an asylum. But one day, some people that want to use her as a weapon break her out. And that's where the journey really begins. And it's such a whirlwind. She has a spin-off trilogy, and then there's going to be another spin-off trilogy. So honestly, it's a bit much, but am I going to be there every step of the way? I am. I am. And once again, another classic. Like, this clings to me to this day, has to always be reread by me. The Infernal Devices series. I really hope people that just started reading like come across this video, because some of these are like, I mean, we read these a decade ago, but if you just started reading, like, you may have not read these books yet, so like this would be so exciting. But this book, oh my god, it's a trilogy. It's a part of the larger universe of Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunter Chronicles. 1,000,000 books, but I will let you know if you haven't read any of them. I know it's like super overwhelming, like, where do you begin? The Infernal Devices trilogy takes place before any of the events of the other books, so you can actually read this trilogy without knowledge of any of the other things. It establishes the world well enough for you. And I mean, Shadowhunters, they fight demons. They're half angel, half human, I think, and they kill demons and protect the human race. Well, the main character, Tessa, she's human, so she thinks. Oh my god. But yeah, there's something magical about her that no one really understands or knows. So she gets kidnapped, and Shadowhunters come and save her. And that really starts her journey, because she doesn't really know anything about the Shadowhunter world. And she's just trying to find her brother, because they both kind of somehow got wrapped up into this world. So she's on a journey to try to find her brother. But there's these really cute Shadowhunter boys. Like, this is one of the best love triangles to ever read of all time. Like, you just really love all three characters. And once again, why couldn't we just all be together, you know? Like, Cassandra Clare does it. She does the polyamory in a different book, so I wish we could have done that, because we love them. We love all of them. But yes, like, what a whirlwind. Like, the third book, I think that's probably a book that made more people cry than any other book. Like, that book really hit so hard. You just need to give it a journey if you haven't yet, because it's an experience, and I really want to reread these. I have met her as well. I have met Tahira Mafi. I've met Marissa Meyer. I've met Tracy Dion. So I got a good list. I've met quite a few of my favorites, which is pretty cool. Have not met Sabah Tahir, but I've seen her from a distance and I've heard her speak because I failed to get in the signing line. They cut it off. It was so sad. But I love an Ember in the Ashes like series. It's a series and there's a new series with it too. So I really want to reread them again because I have read I think the first two twice and then maybe the third and fourth only once. But there's a new series called Air and I want to like remember everything because I forget things. Like I forget very important details these days, like names of the characters. I remember these characters, but I definitely would want to re-experience these before continuing on. I don't know. Maybe I'll just give up and just read Air. But this book is so good. It's a fantasy series. Once again, fantastic characters. The main character, Laya, is like the strongest girl ever. Her brother gets kidnapped and she decides, you know, the scary people that like I think killed her family is who kidnaps her brother, and this is her last family member. So she is infiltrating the military of the people that took him so she can try to find him, and she runs into Elias. He is a part of that military of bad people that she is infiltrating, and you know, he was born into it. He didn't really want to be there. Like his mother is a bitch, and you know, she forces him to be a part of this. So Laya and Elias meet, and what a journey they go on as well. I feel like I keep saying that, but like it is very scary. Bad government. Oh my goodness. Like swords and fighting. Like it's so good. Love the characters and what a wild ride. So it's gotta be one of my favorites. So the final two are both thrillers, and one of them I do not have with me right now. I have it physically back at my house. This is my apartment. My parents' home. The book is there. Do not have it with me right now. Whatever. We'll still talk about it. But A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. Like this really struck my love for thrillers. This is a YA thriller, but oh my gosh, I eat up every book Holly Jackson writes. I really, really love her. I mean, she just gets me gagged every step of the way. I really enjoyed this because it has this unique element of the main character. There was like a small town murder. Someone that she went to school with gets murdered a couple years ago, and she decides for her senior project she's going to dive deep into the case and figure out who really did it, because everyone thinks the girl's boyfriend did it. She doesn't feel that he did, and she has reasons to believe so, but it's kind of like just a feeling she has, and she's really going in investigating it. But if you think about it, if that guy didn't do it and the other person is still free, they're not gonna like that she's like flipping things over and trying to get to the deep truth. So it becomes a very dangerous thing for her to do, and it is a trilogy. Trilogy is so good. I still haven't watched the show. I'm like really embarrassed because I was like super excited about that, but I've heard it's good. Crazy ass girl. She's so smart. I feel like that's one of the things I love about this book so much is I feel like the character is actually smart, and sometimes that cannot be always said. And we gotta mention Ravi, the connection. They both are investigating. Ravi is the brother of the guy that, you know, was accused and everyone thinks is the murderer. So they both have reasons to want to prove this as false and get the real truth. And, you know, detectives, I love investigations and then getting like romantic feelings while we're investigating. Like it's a subplot, it's not the main plot, but it's a really good it's really well done subplot. And the last book, I'll put it on the screen, Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. It's been years and I still think about this book all the time. This is like one of the most haunting books I've ever read in my life. Like you cannot go into this without looking at trigger warnings probably and just preparing yourself mentally for how horrific this book is about to be, because it's I don't remember what the description says, so I don't want to like spoil some pretty key information, but it's about two sisters who had a third sister when they were a lot younger, and she went missing, and I'm pretty sure it was never solved. Like, yeah, I don't think they ever found her, but, you know, I think it's like 20 years in the future or something like that, and the two sisters have kind of like grown distant. Like, the whole family is distant. The dad went crazy because he was constantly trying to solve what happened to his daughter. It really tore the family apart, clearly. There's like a disappearance that happens that seems very similar to what happened to their sister, and the two sisters start investigating, and it leads them down like the darkest pits of hell. Like, it is one of the most horrifying, gory, disgusting things I've ever read in my life. Like, I literally am haunted, and I was listening to the audiobook in the dark, and I don't recommend doing that, because was I not gagged because I couldn't see like what was left on the page. Like, I was getting hit with some crazy information. These two women are so strong, had to go through some of the most wild things that I've ever read about. But what's the most horrifying about it is, like, this is so real. Like, you know that this happens in real life. You know people are actually going through this, and it's like so like horrible to wrap your head around, like, that this shit happens to people, and it happens all the time, and like there's no way to fully put an end to it probably ever, because there's always going to be some horrible people in the world. So do not go into this book lightly. Like, it is so scary. Probably the scariest book I've ever read. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's not even horror, it's like a thriller, but literally it was horror to me. Like, this was so scary, but like I said, it really stuck with me, and it's undeniable how good that book was. Those are my all-time favorite books. Obviously, I have like a bajillion other books that I love and like feel really strongly about, but I was mostly trying to do things that have been in my mind for several years, things I've reread. Obviously, there's a couple more modern examples in here, but you know, like, I've only read this once. I've read a couple of these once, but if they stick, like, I read Pretty Girls, only read once. Like, I'm scared to read it again, to be honest, but I would like to. But they really stick with you sometimes, so I allowed myself to do that, and there's probably more. Maybe I'll do a part 2 eventually, so I can get some of them other ones that I really love, that I'd love to mention, that are not as old, more of my modern mentions, but they still are favorites. I enjoyed talking to you about this, and we're gonna say goodbye now. Let me know what your favorites are, and if it's any of these, because you're cool. But if you haven't read them, seriously, get to it.